All right, we're live, people. We're live. Black Eyes TV is back once again, bringing you some more positive programming. Today, we're talking to the family about what you can do and what your contributions as far as boots on the ground. We've got a special guest today talking about a movement that's happening right now. But I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Riggs. Talk to the people.
Yes, family. And this is about what Rich has just said. What are you actually doing for our family? Not just your family, our family. You know, because we have to have that in our thoughts before we even have a form of a dialogue. And, you know, we have a nice, beautiful queen blessing our presence, who's doing the work in the community. You know, all the way from the children, all the way to the aspects of our buildings, etc. But before I go into that dialogue, we have one of our residents with us. Professor Konsu, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, greetings, family.
Greetings. Would you like to, for people that don't know you, can you give them a little bit of a description of yourself?
I thought I'd keep it short and sweet.
You're funny.
Shall I start again?
You can do it anytime one. People want to know
family. Who you are. Greetings. Social media world. Yeah, this is Andre Sankofa, also known as Professor Konsu. Author of 2 books, Sacred Man from Boyhood to Manhood to Divine Masculine, and The Metaphysical Enigma of Don Killuminati, 2-part The Black Panthers, and Star Wars. Also co-director of the Manhood Academy for Boys, amongst other things. I think that'll do.
Yeah. That's a nice introduction. Now, we would like the beautiful queen to explain who she is and what she's about.
Greetings. I'm Cheryl Phoenix. I'm the founder of the Black Child Agenda Tackling the Schools to Prison Pipeline, ex-entrepreneur and business professional, and also on the board of Bridge Park Community Council, known as BPCC.
Okay. So in the perspectives of Black Child Agenda, I know you've been on our show before, and I just want the public to know what is Black Child Agenda?
Black Child Agenda is an organisation that was set up a few years ago now, unofficially in 2011 and officially in 2013, to challenge the direct discrimination, racism and prejudice that is met out to particularly Black children in the UK. So what we do is parents will contact us, like 99% of my work is done via referrals. So parents will contact me on the phone. It could be anything from their child has already been permanently excluded, or their child has a special need that is not being met by the school, or a child is being bullied, or a child has gone to school with their natural hair and told that they're not allowed to attend class. You know, it's so varied, because I've gone from only dealing with exclusions to now dealing with the entire family structure. So that could be social services inquiries, where schools use social services as a weapon against parents if they were to complain, making up false allegations, and at times having children removed from their care. That's almost just literally being kidnapped from school and placed into foster care or some other arrangement. We deal with crime, so we have a team of criminal barristers and solicitors that support our work there. We also deal with the whole family structure, so family law, employment law, because if you're going to schools every day to tackle these people, you're more than likely going to lose your job if you do a 9 to 5, and also immigration law as well. Have I missed one? Children, families, crime. Yeah, so we deal with all those areas of law now. But the primary focus is our children, unapologetically the Black child, because no one in the UK is representing our children this type of way. So that's in effect what I do. So I go into schools, I challenge the head teachers, or I challenge their governors, and or I take it up to a next level and go to independent review, or sometimes judicial review, which is in the court systems, and challenge what a school has done with regards to a child who's been excluded, or any manner of things that I've mentioned already. So that's what I do full time, because I was trying to do it part time, but it doesn't work. It is a full time role, because I could have a full empty week, and then as one day comes, I'm booked up for the whole week, just going from anywhere from Manchester, Wales, right down to anywhere in the UK, just representing our children.
How long
Okay.
has Black Child Promotion been, Black Child Agenda been running for?
Say that again, sorry.
How long has Black Child Agenda been running for?
Um, Now about 6 years, 7 years.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay. So in that perspective, is there give us a scenario that you have done within the community itself? Because as we are talking about, people do the work within the community, and a lot of people or do a lot of, as I call it, a lot of talking, but the actual actions, like for instance, when we saw you at the school in Fulham with the guy with the dreadlocks that wasn't accepted.
Yeah, young Chikazi Flanders. He applied at Fulham Boys School with his dreadlocks, because their family is Rastafarian, and
Mhm.
applied in the school in 2016, like most other children. Went to their open day. They took pictures with him, put those pictures on their website during the holidays, and then started in September like anyone else. However, when he started in September, he wasn't allowed to attend classes. He was told that his hair is not acceptable, despite the fact that his hair is wrapped and covered in school uniform colours. I believe he had a black tie around his head. And with that, what the school proceeded to do was have him in isolation, which to me is like mental preparation for the prison system. So basically, it's just a room within the school. They gave him a notepad, a pen, and a Bible, and told him to find in the Bible where anyone in history has had dreadlocks and why his hair is unacceptable to go to school. This happened for a while. I saw the case on my Facebook feed, funny enough, and because I don't really watch TV, so I saw the case on my Facebook feed and put a call out to the newspaper that covered it to give the mum my number to contact me. So I spoke to mum at quite length, and we went through the case. Then what I did, I referred it to one of our education solicitors who could take it to the High Courts. So that case was taken to the High Courts in September 2017. I believe the court costs were a good 160, maybe £200,000. Now, we managed to get funding for that case, and I don't know if any of your listeners know, but with regards to education law, there's not really any funding under the legal aid system unless your child is severely disabled. So you would have to fund that yourself. Most parents can't afford it. Say within the first 2 weeks of taking out a legal action against a school could cost you anywhere between £30,000 and £50,000. So a lot of people just don't have access to that kind of money. So we managed to take that case to court, and in September 2018, the court found in favour of Chikazi under discrimination law, um, and he was awarded compensation for the pain and suffering that he was caused to him, direct discrimination as well, and it was actually a landmark ruling. So, now schools will know that if you try and discriminate against one of our young black males based on their hair, we will take you to the High Court and win. So that was one of the cases that was one of our successful ones that was quite prominent in the media, etc., etc.
Okay, so Professor Konsu, is there anything that interests you in forms of asking about, especially if you're dealing with children? Is there anything that you would like to ask our Queen Phoenix about?
Well, I just wanted to acknowledge Cheryl Phoenix for the work she's doing. Definitely a pioneer in this country, for that subject matter. I mean, it's so impactful, that groundbreaking case, that you managed. I mean, we know we have in South Africa a few years ago there was the Young Queens, a group of school girls
Hmm.
just stood up and spoke out in protest about their natural hair, their beautiful melanated natural hair, and that reached a global audience, and it's really something that hasn't been tapped into in terms of the kind of it's kind of like a not a secret but just a silent discrimination. I guess it ties into institutional racism, etc., etc. But the works is very, very necessary, because we see the increasing proportions of our young people that are just being targeted primarily based on fear in terms of black boys not understanding the culture, amongst many other things. So it is so, so necessary for us to speak up on such cases so that they do not become cases anymore and there's an acceptance.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, the push out rate of black boys is ridiculous, because then when you deal with things like mental health amongst young black males, and a lot of it isn't even something that is severe, if picked up on at the right time and dealt with properly with nurture, not tablets, because a lot of parents seem to have this notion that they need to go to CAMS. And for those that don't know, CAMS is child and adult mental health service, CAMHL. Yeah, child and adult mental health service. And there, to me, I come up with against them all the time, to where they've walked out of meetings, gotten really angry, but I sit down and I smile sweetly when I challenge them on the fact that they're always pushing to medicate our children. Little do they know the long-term impact that a lot of this medication can have on our children. Could be impotence, particularly our boys, impotence, liver disease, kidney failure, let alone what it does to the makeup of their brain, where you just want a child, particularly our black children, who academically do better than anybody else once given fair opportunity, because as parents, we are very competitive, and want our children to be able to speak like 10 languages by the time they're 5. So our children academically do better than anybody else within the education system. But then as soon as they get to secondary school, they start failing. As one of my brothers who has a book out there, Gifted in Primary, Failing at Secondary, it is, you see it time after time. So it's very easy to try and label a child with mental health or ODD. They've got every name on every letter under the sun. But rather than actually nurturing this child, what they're doing is just kicking them out of school and sending them to pupil referral units, which are basically the dumping ground for our children. And they will more than likely come into contact with gang or gang activity, sexual contact with older teens, um, be bullied, and then asked if they want to be protected. If they want to be protected, they have to carry this thing. Before you know it, your son is trafficking drugs up and down the country. So this, how they're systematically abusing our children within these schools and other environments. And then if they can't get you with one area, whether it be their hair or whatever, they will get you with social services.
Okay, so in the experience that you have, what kind of cases would you say were very difficult in your situation? Could you hear me?
Yeah, what did you say? You said this, what kinds of cases or what?
What kind of cases that you, since you've been doing this black child agenda, what kind of cases would you say were very difficult for you to apply your skills to?
I would say the most difficult ones are, and they still get dealt with, but the most difficult ones are where a child is clearly, when I speak to a parent, clearly has something going on or something wrong, and no one's picked it up or identified, and they've just built up lists and lists and lists of exclusions, managed moves, crews. They've been passed from pillar to post, where mum can't home educate, or where they've tried home educating and then someone's called, the school have called the police, which happened to one of my parents not long ago, and the police raided her house. um you know, she's refusing to send the child back to school. Those types of ones are difficult because you're dealing with multi agencies and multi areas, but no one's actually thinking about the needs and the welfare of the child. So in that essence, those ones tend to be the trickier ones, because you have like the police involved, you then have social services involved, you then have all of these different people, and none of them actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, involved, and you have to just draw it back into one main point and just keep firing at them on just the law, and that's it. So once you're using the law, then there's nothing that they can do or say to challenge what you're saying, even though they try. Because even the Fulham Boys School case, that head teacher is still trying to kick up a fuss and say that it was unfair and etc etc. But at the end of the day, he still lost. Thus far, I can't say I've actually lost any cases. So even though some of them have been more challenging than others, we still get to the end. Because I don't, for me, I've been in meetings, for example, in social services, where a meeting is supposed to last an hour and a half, and that meeting lasted 6.5 hours because I refused to back down. And this was in a room of 12 different professionals, from hospitals to doctors to police to social workers to whoever. I don't really care. And until I was satisfied that we were going to get somewhere, that mum was satisfied, that the child would be satisfied, then no one is going anywhere.
Okay, but in dealing with like some of these principles, and you are challenging them, do you find some of them being very ignorant or arrogant in the way they deal with the particular pupil?
Absolutely. Some of them are just blatantly racist. Like when you see and hear the racism, I got a case just yesterday morning, and it was blatant, where a white boy is bullying a black student. He's a quiet boy. And this boy has persistently and consistently been punching the boy in the head, slapping him round the face, and basically turning him over. However, eventually this young black boy decided that he's not having any more. So he hit back. Now, remember, this is taking place in front of a teacher. As soon as our black child has hit back now to defend himself, he is now permanently excluded. The things that we see, we have head teachers telling parents that they actually just don't really care. Don't care what you think, don't care what you feel. But then when they hear that I'm coming, once they Google who's coming, all of a sudden, by the time you get there, they've changed their tune. They're all smiles and niceties. I had a case in Bromley once where two children were actually sexually assaulted by a white student. And the school's excuse was that, oh, he's got learning needs. Now, this traumatized these two boys. They're only like 6 and 7, so they were quite small. And these two boys started acting up in school, because obviously no one's dealing with the trauma. Nothing's been done about it. Mum's tried to ask for help, etc., etc. She went to the school and told them that we were coming, because she asked them for counselling, football, things that will help her son. They ignored her. Once I got to that school, because they told her they have no funding, they have no this. Within that meeting lasted 10 minutes for my hour and a half journey across London. It lasted 10 minutes. They found £50,000 to fund these two boys. And it wasn't just to fund some old witch who's waiting to retire at the school to come and say that she's going to be a mentor. No, that's not acceptable. We had to get culturally specific mentors, culturally specific people to come and deal with these young boys. And yes, they had to be Black, African, or African Caribbean. It's as simple as that. So where schools know we're coming, they do sometimes get their backs up, but because they don't want to be branded publicly as racist, they will just end up doing the right thing. Hello?
Can you still hear me?
What did you say again?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the signal was going in and out when you was talking, and now Terry's dropped off. I know he's going to jump back on in a second.
Oh, right. Okay.
How much, I wanted to ask you, in a lot of these cases, how much resistance do you find you get from the families, or do they understand the complicities of the problem. You know, are they happy to work with you? Do they take kindly to suggestions? How much pushback do you get there, do you find?
None. I haven't found a family yet that, remember, the families are contacting me in the first place. The only thing that I say is that don't, like, to families, try not to leave it to the last minute. But then if you're just a parent sending your child to school and they keep saying, oh, he was naughty today, but we're going to put him in isolation, and you think, okay, he's just being disciplined. When generally, if those isolations build up too much, then it becomes external exclusions. Those external exclusions then become a permanent exclusion. So I say to parents to act faster. Don't wait until it gets to the stage of permanent exclusion. Sometimes you have schools where if a child has, for example, had a fight, and usually because they've been bullied and they're defending themselves, they can get excluded for a one-off incident. So the school can deem that this child, like I had last week's hearing last Thursday, no Wednesday, sorry, was so violent. A young tiny girl for year 7 being bullied by again a European girl, um, because the European girl had sexual photos that was going around on Snapchat, and because of this, the European girl called her big year 10 cousins. Now, if you see the black child, she is tiny. She's the size of maybe an 8-year-old. She's so small, very cute thing. And this girl was bullying her and then started punching and kicking her. So the black girl turned around to leave, but this white girl grabbed her by her hair and pulled her back. So the black girl defended herself, quite rightly too. However, the white girl got bruised on the chin. She got a bruise on the chin. So obviously, the schools were like, well, it was the most violent and vicious attack. And it's, well, no, actually, she tried to walk away. So these are the things that we come up against with regards to how you fail to recognize that
Cheryl,
this child was being, yeah.
sorry, repeat that last bit because you just went out. I wanted to, with the incident, you just went out when you was talking about what actually happened. Just repeat that
Right. Well,
last bit.
the white girl was punching and kicking the black girl. The black girl didn't respond at first. Then she turned around to leave. The white girl then grabbed the black girl by her hair and dragged her back and continued to punch her. So the black girl then just gave her one uppercut. I was actually quite proud of her. One uppercut, and it bruised the white girl's chin. So with that, the school had then deemed it fit for her to be permanently excluded and branded her a violent, vicious young person, etc., etc. That the safety of the school is at risk.
Oh, oh,
All
oh.
of these sorts of things. When at the end of the day, she was the victim who defended herself. So she was permanently excluded, and we had the meeting last week, which obviously had to be overturned by the time I'd finished with the head teacher, the deputy head, and the chair of governors, who was a black woman. By the time I finished with her as well, she was an elder at that, but she behaved like a coon. She was like licking Mass's ass. I'm sorry for my language, but it is what it is. And
It's real talk, real
I
talk.
came for her. And yeah, so that was overturned, and now this young girl is able to go back to another school of her choice, and she won't have the exclusion on her record. But generally, parents are very they listen. Most parents listen. I have some that don't listen, and then 6 months later they want to contact me again.
Oh, it's gone out again.
So far,
It's gone out again.
I can hear you though.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear
Every so
me?
often you just go funny because I'm listening to it how it's going out live. So every so often your voice just goes out. Repeat that
Oh
last thing again.
right. So you can hear me clearly now, though, right?
Hear you back now.
Cool. So yeah, these are some of the areas that like where the schools are blatantly towards our children in particular. Everything our child done is put under a microscope. However, they fail to reprimand the white child for the similar or worse types of behavior. And that is the problem. And then our children, if you go to any Peru in London, you'll find it filled with 99% black boys.
Mm, I totally hear that. I was permanently excluded from school and I had to go into a third base education center, which is based in Whitechapel. and for a long period of time, I was in that gap of not knowing what I was going to be doing in the time of being excluded and getting replaced into education. How many children are you encountering that are kind of falling in between that crack? Where, again, for me, I was, from the time I was permanently excluded, I was out of school and not in any sort of education for at least 6 months, 7 months. So how many children are you encountering that are having big breaks in their education because of these problems?
Loads. It's more common than people think. That you know, a lot of these kids that you just see on the road who end up unfortunately getting themselves involved in some of the nonsense that we see happening. Um, those are the very children that you're talking about. I myself was excluded twice from school, interestingly, for foolishness. And obviously, back then, you know, when you're going to school in the 70s and 80s, the racism was more blatant. But there's lots of children like that who are just not in any sort of education, where the system has completely failed them. No one's listening to the parents. The thing is that parents don't understand right now is that they're writing to their MPs and things like that. MPs can't really do much anymore, because most schools are academies, so they are private businesses. So academies effectively think they can do what they want, but they still have to follow the same protocol as every other school. But many parents just don't know what to do, and that is literally it. They're just stuck and not sure which way to turn or what to do or where to go for help, unless they've got £250 an hour plus VAT to pay a education solicitor. They're pretty much just left to their own devices.
Mm, no, most definitely. Konsu, in the
Yes.
kids, in the kids that you're coming up against as well, and bringing into your manhood academy again, how much of this problem of kids being out of school for long periods of time are you coming up against? Are you experiencing that more, where you're having to talk to parents more about kids being out of school for long periods of time as well?
Well, more so, we're experiencing parents having increasing anxieties about their children and how they're being handled at school. So, in some cases, we have had the cases that Cheryl mentioned. In other cases, with our younger ones, it's just kind of edging in, you know, in terms of suggesting medications, putting all the acronyms that they have, ADHD, etc., on a child, etc., etc. I mean, where we come from, first of all, I work in a SCMH high school, a social, emotional, and mental health therapeutic high school. So I'm pretty much ingrained in my purpose. Even though I have to navigate the educational system, I am impacting the young people that I work with. But in terms of our organization, or my organization, our organization, we do advocate parental awareness, which is why we're going to have Cheryl down on Saturday in our Parenthood Academy. So we just give parents the tools and the know how on how to navigate the landscape of the educational system. I mean, it was mentioned in the book. I recommend it to every single parent that I speak to, and a lot of parents speak to me about the concerns. Gifted at primary and failing by secondary. Very, very good book by the brother Neil Mayers.
Neil
That
Mayers,
gives you
that's
some of
right.
the tools, yeah, that we're speaking about on this call. But we have to keep in mind that our young people are increasingly experiencing and kind of stress, and in an urban toxic environment, I would say, you know, in terms of what's going on. It's very intense living in London in our urban environments. A lot of our young people are experiencing things like toxic stress. They're experiencing an environmental trauma. Some of our young people are experiencing post-traumatic stress that they're not even aware of what the word means. They just know the feeling of what they're experiencing. But yeah, we have to really care for our children and equip the parents with what they need to know or what they might not know in terms of how you deal with school. Keep in mind, in primary school, I mean, it's becoming more and more intense, but in primary school, our children are a lot of the time just innocent, naive. They're just children. But when they hit high school, they're in for a bit of a shock. And high school, you could say in some capacity, high school is a form of rites of passage, because then you get the real deal on the different types of personalities you have to navigate. So all these things start to go up in high school. It's like in primary school as well, but you'll get the bullying, you'll get the covert discrimination, etc., etc. And for an innocent child that's just coming from primary school, it's quite impactful for them, and you see it show up. They have to put on a mask, they have to put on that hard mask, even though they may be a regular child with a healthy family. They'll have to put on a persona in order to protect themselves. Now, there's quite a vital statistics in this conversation. It was published by the Children's Society a few years ago. It was a global research that was done, and it statistically, children in the UK are the unhappiest in the world, and that's not in Europe or in I don't know, in England, Wales, and Scotland, in the whole world, superseding many third world quote unquote countries. So our children are experiencing a lot of emotions that they have to navigate in their environment, such as toxic stress, the environmental stress that they have to encounter. And really, these things have to be addressed. This is what we do at Manhood Academy. We make the parents and the children aware of how to navigate their landscape or navigate the environment. Because as you know, I mean, Cheryl's speaking about the unspoken. A lot of the time it's unspoken. It seldom hits mainstream news. But these things happen very subtly in our schools, and they chip away at the morale of our children. So we're the light workers really that have to heal our children and protect our children and their families.
Mm, most definitely, most definitely. And again, this is a multifaceted problem. This is multi-layered. And again, Cheryl, when you're dealing with these different agencies, I mean, we must know already that, again, somebody pointed out in the chat room, we're living in a white country predominantly, so we can't expect them to support this overall. But how much resistance or how much understanding do you get to the problem and how multifaceted it is? Like, how many people deal with it on a one level basis? How much support do you get? How much resistance do you get? Is it just your organization alone at this point working these angles? I can't hear you, my dear.
Sorry?
Ah, there you go. You're back now. I can hear you now. You was
Oh,
all quiet.
yeah. I do know of another organization who does similar work to us. Um, but with regards to we don't really get much resistance per se. People will question, and the people that question the title of our organization tend to look like me, Black African, and they will ask, what about everybody else? And my response is, what about everybody else? There's agencies and things set up for every nationality but ours. So there's not necessarily any resistance. There is just a lot of apathy amongst our community. There's just a lot of, well, it's not my problem. So, they're not that interested until it happens to them. Because I say to most people, it doesn't matter whether you're a single parent, a two-parent household. Um, if you're, some of my clients are solicitors themselves. Some of my clients are surgeons. So it's right, and then some of my clients have children that attend private schools, but also, and it's all the same narrative. So the only thing is that they're either black or mixed race. So it's interesting when I hear from white parents of black mixed race children, that they're more passionate a lot of the times about how this discrimination is allowed to happen and are willing to do, to go all the way. They come out with all guns blazing. Where I find, unfortunately, in our community, there's a sense of fear for the teachers amongst the parents. There's a huge amount of fear that has been ingrained and instilled in us from so long. Now, hence why I got excluded from school, my two schools myself, was because I didn't have that fear, and the younger generation don't have that fear. So when you as a parent are going to the school and you're absolutely completely scared to respond to a teacher and they're literally bullying you and your child is watching, then that brings up a whole nother argument again, on top of the fact that your child is being victimized already. You're sending them into this environment for 30 hours a week, where they're being effectively just bullied, and you as their parent are completely scared to do anything about it. So that is probably more than when I say any resistance. That's probably one of my frustrations. But at the same time, I also understand, because this is learnt behavior, and we've got to make sure we teach our young people. Well, our young people today, they ain't frightened of nothing. So we've got to get out of that mindset that these people are somehow some sort of god towards us, or you can't speak your mind to them and say exactly what you feel, rather than being scared to just be free in what you have to say.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Most definitely. All right.
And that's without being abusive, because sometimes some parents want to just go down and beat people up, and it's like you can't do that because you'll end up getting into jail.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be tempered. I think that's always something we got to deal with when we're dealing with our kids, the school. You have to know your child as well to a certain extent. You to know what is the right strategy to move forward. I think if you have no idea about your child and who they really are, that's not a good starting point. The same way, if you just go straight into school and start raging before you've checked out facts and know certain things, you're setting yourself up to not be received in any way, shape, or form.
Well, the schools will just ban you. They can do that. They'll ban you from the site. And then how are you going to pick up your child? They will ban you, and they will make your life hell. And once you go in there and you start kicking off, you will find yourself either in front of social services, or I had one parent where they accused her of coming to school drunk, attempting to beat up a teacher. It didn't happen, but now she's struggling with social services because they wrote a whole file and made up a lot of lies about her. And these are the things that will come your way. It's not like back in the 80s where parents were going to school and doing certain things to teachers, etc. Nowadays they have the system even more so on their side, and it's a multi-agency approach. So it's not just the police will also call social services will contact the school will contact, it's a cycle, and all of these people are up in your mix.
Yeah, definitely being monitored. Yeah, I definitely understand that one.
Constant, which is why I'm an advocate for home education. I definitely would advocate, and I know not everyone can do it. Take our children out of their system. Why do we send our children back every day to be abused? This is what it just bugs me. And people think that when they think of a home education, it's just them and their child sitting down doing maths, English and science. It's like, no, our children are creatives, our children are scientists and inventors. Why are we not pushing them down this path? Why are we not encouraging this type of learning? Why does it have to be because the teacher said they have to do this? Why do they have to wait until they're 16 to do their GCSEs? They don't. So we need to be able to unpick this processing that's been done to us for so long, and start utilizing. I'm always saying we've got church halls sitting there doing nothing, and most days of the week. Why are we not utilizing them? Why are we not putting pressure on these pastors or whatever they want to call themselves to say, listen, we've got our children out here dying on the roads. Why don't you open your doors and make sure they have somewhere to go? We've got empty buildings all over the place. Why they're not being utilized properly? You don't have to have 150 children to have a school. You can have 10 children once you don't go over Ofsted requirements that classifies it as a school. But we can go into that another time. But we don't have to send our children to these people. And could you imagine if every single black parent took their child out of school for a month? What would happen to this system?
Definitely, they'd have to reform and rethink Definitely the whole way, but that's the case in so many different areas of society. We just withdrew our services. I think there will be a lot of things that have to change immediately, or at least they'd have to come to the table to talk about it. Very least.
Yeah. So I just want
I get,
to have a quick break. Quick break. Yeah,
you're
just
back.
a quick break. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I just wanted to have a break to the people in the comment section. Please share, like, subscribe, get this information out to the people, because the people actually need it. And just picking up a few of the people that are in the comment section, people like B2, E, Black History Activity Books, Sci-Fi. Thank you for helping us and doing much as you can within the chat room. And then what we always do sometimes is to promoting people that are liaising with us. People like, as I said, Andrew with the Black History Activity Books, who has a launch in October in Black History Month. So if you have the opportunity and you want to buy certain activity books, just go onto Amazon, you'll find it in there, or check him on all the social medias where he is selling his products. And Konsu, I want you to do a little quick breakdown what's happening in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks' time.
Is that the Bridge Park?
Huh?
We're talking about Bridge Park now.
No, we're going to talk about it just, straight after we just do this quick ad.
All right.
Is this like an official advert, commercial break?
Yes, this is an advert. The people want to know what's going on in 2 weeks.
All right. Well, in 2 weeks, the Manhood Academy, our West London branch, we've just started in December. Manhood Academy in the West London region, in the Ladbroke Grove, Latimer Road region, across the road from the Grenfell tragedy. So we're catering for the Grenfell community, and we are going to have a community celebration graduation in 2 weeks' time on the 16th of February. It's also going to be an enrollment day for anyone who wants to join in the West London region. So that's Saturday, the 16th of February, 12 till 5 p.m. at the Curve Community Centre, which is pretty much across the road from Latimer Road Station. The postcode is W106TP, I believe. So we're going to have guest speakers down. Our young people are going to deliver what they've learnt so far on the 10-week program. The program was an introduction to the Manhood Academy. So the full-blown Manhood Academy program starts in the spring. So we're going to have guest speakers down, special guests, presentations. We're going to have a Caribbean buffet, and it's a community event. So anyone out there who's listening, feel free to come down for the day and join us in celebration of our young people.
Yeah, so people out there, if you're very interested in what's going on, make sure you make your way down. And if they need to contact you, Professor Konsu, how were they able to contact you?
They can contact us on social media. Simply type in Manhood Academy West or hashtag Manhood Academy West. If you go to our Instagram, it's got our phone number, my phone number. It's got our email address, and you can contact us by that means.
Okay, so people, you heard it first here. So make sure you arrive in 2 weeks' time on the 16th. Bring your children, because they need the culture, the education, and the development. But now we're going back into the subject of where we was going to, as we was talking about the children, and now we're going into like all these premises that are empty to a premises that we have been talking about, and we want to have a better understanding about what's going on about this Stonebridge complex. And we have our princess, our queen, to able to demonstrate and tell us what is going on and what is happening about this situation. sister?
Yeah, so Bridge Park, just to give you a quick brief on the history, in Northwest London, which is on the Harrow Road, you had an old bus garage. Now, you had a lot of young people, had nowhere to go, and a 21-year-old of his time, a man named Leonard Johnson, was approached and told that the old bus garage that was there was up for sale for about £3 million. And he knew that because they stopped the riots in Harlesden that were going to take place. Everyone remembers back in the 80s when we had all these riots and things like that, or uprisings, because the way how they treat us generally. So, our young people would fight back. So to prevent that happening, Leonard basically galvanized the local community and said, look, we can basically try and raise the money to buy this and have a community center for the community so that our youths have somewhere to go, so they're not on the streets getting themselves into trouble. So with that, they managed to raise the money and bought the land and also the bus garage, and then later on raised further money to actually have Bridge Park, the building, as what we see standing today. Now, at the time of raising the money, because they were an unincorporated organization at the time, they couldn't actually apply for funding. So what happened? The GLC, Brent, I think it was the London Development Agency. I can't remember. And who else was it? There was a couple of other agencies who all put in some money. However, Brent held some of their money in trust on their behalf. So if they needed the money, they could go to them and say, look, we need the money to do this. So that was done. Everything was running fine. However, as time went on, people had like maybe personal issues and the maintenance and running of the building wasn't being done. So Brent said, look, we'll help manage the building on your behalf. But the building obviously will still belong to them because it was protected by a covenant. The covenant was placed on the building and the land to basically say that no one can sell this building, not Leonard or his friends who were known as HPCC. No one can sell the building unless you ask the wider community who you are there to serve, which was fair enough. However, Brent somehow managed to have that covenant successfully removed. It says so on their website that they successfully removed the covenant. Now, in its own, that is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. Secondly, they were supposed to consult with local residents. They didn't do that either. Well, they claim they did, but the consultation documents that went out were basically a small card, like maybe A6, and you had to go online to fill out this consultation. So that actually will, throws off many people who may not have English as a first language, who don't know, who aren't computer literate, etc., etc. But then they claim that they got back around 70 of these consultations. But there's over 2,500 properties in Stonebridge. It's quite a huge estate. Anyway, what that consultation actually, what they claim said, they was asking people about what they want in the building, not asking them if they want the building to be demolished or if they want the building to be refurbished. It was all about what they wanted, if you want blue tiles or pink tiles or whatever it is. Anyway, they removed the covenant and then entered into a contract with a company called GMH, General Mediterranean Holdings. Now, anyone can go and find out about this company because the director of the company has been done for fraud. So as a council, how would you now enter into a contract and sell in Bridge Park, the building and the land for only 15, that's 15 million pounds, when the actual land and building itself is worth 50 million, 50. So that raised some concerns. Why was it when the auditors came into Brent, they saw the paperwork for Bridge Park and were not happy or satisfied with that paperwork and asked for an investigation to be done as to what was going on? So with that, when we found out about this in early 2017, I found out about it personally in 2013 when I was running to be a local councillor under the Labour Party, because I thought if I want to make a difference in my community, it makes sense being part of that solution. big mistake that was. But nonetheless, one of the other councillors called me and told me what was going on. And in 2017, we held a public meeting. I think there was a series of 3 public meetings where the community came down. At that point, we didn't know enough to be able to tell people. All we knew was that there was a problem. Brent are trying to sell Bridge Park and we need to stop them. So from 2017 to 2018, people wouldn't have really heard from us because our mission was basically gathering evidence, finding out what was going on. And a lot of this evidence is historic. You're talking 35 years ago. And remembering that these were just young guys who were trying something, had no business skill or knowledge, knew very little, but just knew they wanted a building for their community. And we basically have dug up, well, there's about 27 lever arch files of facts, information, and documents to support our case. So where we're at now is that on the 27th of February, basically Brent are taking us, we are organised as a community org, as BPCC, Bridge Park Community Council. So Brent are using our tax-paying money to now take the community that they claim to serve to court, because in August 2017, we put an RX1, and anyone can go onto the land registry and check. We put an RX1 form in, which blocked Brent from selling that land. So because we've done that, they're now taking us to court, claiming that that land belongs to them when it doesn't. So that in a nutshell is where the 27th now, a lot of people, we've managed to move apparently we've moved the courtroom from the main Crown Court to Fetter Lane. And that court case is taking place. It's going to be heard from 11 o'clock and they've set aside 4 hours. So I've told people, look, people said they're coming down regardless. So they're coming down and, you know, with their drums and incense and whatever. But I believe that the court that they've changed it to can now hold anywhere between 50 to 100 people. So the community have really supported it. And there's a lot to be had. The building, just so people have an idea of the size of the building has 35 offices. It has a banquet, it has a large concert hall with all the lights and a stage. It has a bar and a restaurant. It has a gym which can hold over 1,000 people. It has a sauna room, shower room. It has a recording studio, radio station. It has a warehouse round the back. Adjacent to the building, we have a church, a nursery. That was just another outhouse building. And enough parking for 100 cars. The space itself is 3.5 acres of land. So it's quite a vast space. We have our own plans of what we want to do with the building, which is number one, demolish it and build it as a centre of excellence for the Black community. So we'll be doing anything from architecture, teaching football skills, teaching business skills, affordable spaces for startups, enterprise, everything. So it will be an internationally known centre of excellence for our community, by our community, unapologetically. We will also have a warehouse which will be what basically places like Asda and Tesco's are basically warehouses with lights and shelves. We plan to do the same thing and import and export our own goods, services, from food to hair care products, whatever it is, for our community, by our community. So we have some great plans for our building. So it is going to be a deciding part of the deciding factor on the 27th of February at Fetter Lane Court between 10:30 and 2 o'clock.
Okay. So I had someone asking, how long do we have to Saving Bridge Park complex?
How long?
Yeah, that's what they said.
I don't understand the question because we're going to court on the 27th. So really right now, what we're doing, we're fundraising for our legal fees, because remember, Brent have our money, so they can use how many millions of pounds that they choose. But right now, we've gone past the stage of how long do we have. We're at the stage of we have our evidence. We're standing firm, and we need the community to support, whether that's them coming to the court, whether that's them sharing the information, whether that's them donating to our cause so that we can pay our legal fees. Because this case will cost easily £150,000 plus. And we have that money in our community, but, you know, we spend on what we choose to. So we have the money. We just need to actually stand up for something. And right now, the 27th will be the deciding factor whether this case the judge will decide if he brings this case to trial. And then that a trial can last anywhere from 5, 10, as long as the judge will set to hear a case. So we don't have that much time because the 27th is deciding, and then we go from there. So we have not that long.
Okay. In the proceedings of the title, as we called it, what are we doing for our family as a whole? In the perspective, what would you need people to do to able to highlight this situation, which, as everyone's always saying, oh, we don't have no venue, we don't have no school, we don't have no nothing. What would you like people to do that are out there in the community?
What we would like them to, like, one of my key areas is getting the message out. For once, this message with regards to the fact that we as the Black community are not going to be pushed aside, we are going to stand up for our rights and our building and our community. Because like you said, we always complain we don't have. So rather than us complaining that we don't have, we do have. What are we now going to do as a people to make sure we keep what we have and continue the legacy that so far has been standing for 35 years? So there's many ways what it looks like in my mind. One of the things is we're all social media active. 99% of us are social media active, whether you're 50 down to 50. What I'm doing is encouraging people to do short videos. Grab your camera, take a video, it doesn't have to be long, saying you support the Bridge Park campaign. That's it. Get it out on your social media. Who are you? My name is Cheryl Phoenix. I support the Bridge Park campaign. We are standing with Bridge Park Community Council. We don't agree with what Brent are trying to do. That is a way to support this type of campaign, because once you get this message, the mainstream media will pick it up. And this is what we want. We want to create as much hysteria and noise and be a thorn in the side of Brent Council as we can. And the only way we can do that is by flooding social media, the press, the newspapers, the TV with the fact that the community are standing by each other, because we are the community as well, and we're not standing with them, and we're not standing for what they're doing.
Oh, you dropped off. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you come back.
Yeah, so those are the sorts of things. Just share the information. Find our website, bridgeparkcomplex.com. Share information in your area. It's not just Northwest London. We've got people from Nottingham, Birmingham, Manchester who are all supporting. And I don't know how many people saw one video I'd done in my beautiful mustard colored jumper. People told me I look like Tweety Pie. However, the video I done that has gone viral, and not only that, Freddie McGregor has picked up on that because he himself has performed at Bridge Park. So has Sanchez. So has not Gregory Isaacs. What's his name? Quite a few reggae artists. Crystal Rose, Mr. Motivator started there.
Even the Mobo started there.
The Mobo started there. Black Music Awards. So many things started there. People started their business there. People gained skills there because they had training for young people and computers, and some people have gone on to do and run most amazing businesses. One of them, two guys I met, started their bricklaying at Bridge Park and now own a massive company as a building company. So they had Saturday schools there, church schools, all kinds of things going on. It was a hub. I watched Black Heroes in the Hall of Fame there as a young person. So most of us remember Black Heroes in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately has passed away now. But all of these things took place in Bridge Park. There were dances and concerts, and Hawkeye still holds concerts there now. So it is somewhere that is big enough for us to use to do a multitude of things. There's 35 office spaces in there. One of the smallest ones seats 50. So we need to be serious. If we're serious about actually having for self, then we need to get behind this campaign. It doesn't matter where you live, because what we plan to do after this is duplicate the Bridge Park story in Birmingham, in Nottingham, in Manchester. Because when I was up in Manchester last week on my Black Child Agenda business, they're saying there is nothing up here for us. That building is worth £50 million. £50 million. It is the largest building of its kind in Europe. It's not just a London thing, it's a Europe thing. So we have something to be proud of. So we need to support it. We need to get behind it.
Oh,
We need to make sure that
hold up, sister, you
these
got
sharks, these charlatans, cannot take away what belongs to us as a people.
No, most
Okay.
definitely. Listen, I did not know that about the building being worth 50 million, or that is the biggest complex of its size in Europe. Is that what you said? Yeah.
That's exactly what I said. It's the biggest. It was opened by
Yeah.
Prince Charles, who came down to open the building for us. You know, the guys, Leonard and those guys were flown to Barbados, Jamaica, Africa, and Zimbabwe, all over, because what they did was unprecedented. It was a massive, massive deal in its time. So could you imagine being 21 and flown all around the world because of what you've achieved in your little northwest London? It's a huge, huge legacy that, we always look to America and these places, not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but we have our own legacy builders right here on our doorstep, and we're not even acknowledging it. We're so busy looking over the water, but right here in our own backyard, we have something that we need to be behind and be part of. We're not saying that we want anyone to come and be marching, because I personally don't believe marching will work right now. In this day and time, what we need is to utilize the tools that we have. And right now, one of the biggest and most powerful tools we have is social media. So we need to get on our social media, even if it's just a post. Even if you don't, if you want to do a video, the videos don't have to only be by celebrities, but it helps. So even if your Mr. Individual wants to say you support the Bridge Park Vision and Complex, that's what we need. If you want to donate, go to our website. Even if it's £1. Remember, they say there's 6 million black people, or 3 million black people, no, 6 million black people in the whole of the UK. Could you imagine if everyone gave £1? How easy it would be to duplicate the bridge parks of the world up and down this country, and even in Africa and the Caribbean. It will be so simple. The struggles that we're having as a people would not exist, because it's nonsense that we're even struggling. As Bridge Park, we're struggling to raise 25 grand. We're struggling to raise 25 grand. How? Knowing what this actually means, knowing that we can then use this to stop gun and knife crime in the local area and stretch that out right across, knowing that we can bring our young people to our own centre whatever time of night we feel like it. We'll have our wardens on the road at 2 o'clock in the morning to make sure, so we can bring our young people to one place and make them shake hands or whatever it is, to try and build bridges back. We can have somewhere where we can bring our children as parents and be in one space regardless of what area you are, and know that our children are growing up as cousins. Remember, all of us used to say that we're cousins. That's my cousin, you can't talk to him. That's my cousin, you can't touch him. We've lost that. We need to get that back. And right now, as a community and as a people, we are on the back foot. We're sinking, because if every day, if it's not enough for us to see every day that one of our children are dying, then I don't know what it's going to take. Does it have to be your child before you start taking your community seriously?
Facts.
Konsu,
Yes, sir.
as I know you used to live not far from there back in the days, what is your experiences about Stonebridge Complex?
Well, Bridge Park is very close to my heart. I grew up in Kensal Rise, and I went to Copeland High School on Wembley High Road. I passed Bridge Park on the 18 bus every day. So I've been to many wedding and funeral gatherings at Bridge Park. I think most notably Yusuf Ben Jokanan, the great master scholar. I remember he did a lecture there some years ago. And it's very reassuring that we have, heavyweights in our community that can navigate the legal language of what's going on at Bridge Park. And most certainly, as was mentioned, I think big media is key in this initiative, as well as a hashtag. I haven't checked to see if Bridge Park has a hashtag, but
Yeah, we've
these
got
kind
a
of
hashtag
things.
out there.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna start. I'm gonna pick that up, and maybe we'll have a talk offline about that, because media is my thing. But to do with Bridge Park, we have to keep in mind that there are, I call them template initiatives. There are initiatives just like the template of what's going on with our schools, and the systematic the systematic way in which exclusions are instigated. First, it's a mild warning, then it's a 1 day exclusion, then it's a report, and then it goes on to something else. This has a similar template in terms of the construct of our society. And what do I mean by that? Keep in mind the same template with Bridge Park Complex is what is occurring with Dexter's Community Centre in Brixton at the moment, in which the community owns the land. There's also ongoing challenges with the Westway base around the Labrador Grove area. Brother Nile of Ackland Village is very outspoken in what's going on there. And, you know, the worst end scenario, we've seen a snippet of what it could look like. I mean, in terms of the Westway bays in Labrador Grove, we've seen a Pret Manger has popped up across the road from Labrador Grove Station. And above that is a private school. Now, that is land that's owned by the community. Somehow, Coca-Cola, quote, Pret Manger, managed to get hold of that land and hold of the building. I don't know the details of it, but now we got a very awkward-looking Pret Manger in Labrador Grove. So we really have to counteract that with the legalities and the know-how of what our community knows in making sure this doesn't happen with Bridge Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, you
Brother
dropped off.
Rich.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, and how do you feel about the situation?
Well, again, it's just an echoing of what the sister said. We gotta go out, we gotta support it, we gotta talk about it, we have to share the links. Again, for anyone who doesn't know, we already went to a meeting. How long ago was that, Terry? A year ago now? That we did the video?
In the thing where we started to talk about the whole thing about the Bridge Park, spoke to some of the people that were the organizers of the Bridge Park. They've even got a plaque on the Bridge Park of saying who it was. Even Prince Charles' name is signed on the Bridge Park to give it the official go-ahead. So you can go back into our archives and you are able to see what we've been talking about for a very long time. Because in most situations, you will find out that we are losing our communities rightfully. You understand? We're not having none. Most of all these community centers, but they're disappearing. All these activities are disappearing. If we keep on letting these things go, what have we got left as a legacy to give into our children? So in that perspective, we need you to come out. We need you to come on the 27th at 10 o'clock. Just to even put a video out. It just takes one person to doing that. Imagine the whole population sending out a message about saving Bridge Park. We could do that with all the communities and save every single one, because we do have ownership. We do own these places. Don't let them rob you. Don't let them take their things away from you, because it's taking food from your children.
Yeah, as I said, you know, Dexter's Community Centre in Brixton, the Westway, the Labrador Grove base, and Bridge Park. But I would like to know, Cheryl, what is the hashtag that is being circulated for Bridge Park? Because I'm definitely going to start tapping into what's going on with Bridge Park.
You've got two. You've got hashtag Save Bridge Park, and you've got hashtag Bridge Park and Bridge Park Complex.
Okay. All right.
And where do people?
And when you're doing the video, make sure you put that on there.
Let's hear the full details, Cheryl, of where do people go when they want to donate, if they want to make inquiries, help out in some way.
Yeah, what they can do is just go to all the w's.bridgeparkcomplex.com. You can also go on our Facebook page, which is Save Bridge Park. Where else are we? We're in Instagram, Bridge Park C. Twitter as well is Bridge Park C. So they can find us on the social medias. So we are there. So definitely just share. And like I said, just do whatever it is. Just do something. You know, do something.
As the title says, what are you doing for our family? Think about it. What are you doing for your community? So Rich, can you hear me, Rich?
I can hear you. I'm right here, still here listening.
Okay, I'm just checking.
I mean,
As I said,
we've been covering a few bases about some of the issues that our young people face. We've had Cheryl Phoenix on the show today, joining us with Professor Konsu from Manhood Academy. Again, for anyone who doesn't know, go back into Black Eyes TV archives where you can see a video that we did on the Stonebridge complex, where we highlight a meeting that was going on where they were first talking about this problem. So again, if you didn't hear this show, go back to that video and you can get a little bit more history and actually see visuals of the Stonebridge complex if you haven't seen it, if you're joining us from America, whatever the case may be. As we stressed already, social media right now is the #1 tool that we can use to create awareness about this situation. So that's what everybody should be doing on the first level. Again, we've got the protests coming out to the court date. What date is that again? And where is that?
It's the 27th of February. I think it's a Wednesday. Let me just check my calendar. So it's basically in 2 weeks. 1, 2, 3 weeks. Yeah, it's Wednesday, the 27th of February at Fetter Lane High Court. I'm trying to just find the full address. I'll find it whilst I'm speaking. And here it is. 10:30, Wednesday the 27th at the High Court Chancery Division here in Rouen. 7 Rolls Buildings, Fetter Lane, Holborn, EC4A 1 N for November, L for Lima.
you see, make sure you come in your drums and support. The more the merrier, so we can able to say what we want and what is entitled to us. Don't let it disappear out of your hands. This is something that is a big legacy. If you're going to throw it away, it's only done by yourself. Take a part within your community and take that action.
That's all. Before we sign up, I want the guests to have their final say. So if there's anything you guys want to say at this point, please feel free. End us out with your final thoughts. Konsu, we'll go and then we'll finish with the sister.
Well, yeah, I just want to say it's been a rich dialogue, and I hope the community can extract something from it, whether it's to do with how we navigate the educational landscape of our young people, or how we can be active in our community. As I always say, be the change you wish to see in the world. So, for example, in terms of the Bridge Park, let's call it a controversy. There is definitely strength in numbers, but you know what is key and what I'm happy to hear, and I'll definitely speak to you, Cheryl, offline about what I can contribute in terms of getting big media down there potentially. What are we going to do as individuals, but also those amongst us that are able to navigate the legal landscape of what's going on, which is important, because we can come out in numbers and protest, and as a community, we're good at protesting, but really, we're up against an institution that functions from paperwork, legalities, and legally language. You know, so it's just reassuring to know that we have those things on boards in terms of the things that we need to do for our community.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Well, you know, the thing is that one of the biggest law firms in this country stepped forward the other day to actually do some of the work with regards to this. So it's just like, wow, you know, the support from even some of the mainstream media. The local paper has been supportive, but the mainstream press are, and that's just been the Guardian thus far, have been very, very on it. They're going to be pushing it as well, because the message. Because it was interesting. The reporter who was doing it was around the 35 years ago when they had just opened Bridge Park and met Leonard at that time and has heard what has happened and was like, "Well, no, this can't happen." So the fact that 35 years later, this woman who was a young junior journalist at that time has come back to show her support in this way says a lot. The fact that the local councillors, who I was in one of their Labour meetings a few weeks ago, who categorically are against Brent Council selling Bridge Park, they stood up and said so themselves. So the support is there. We just need to make sure that the momentum and it being visual is also just as much. And you're correct when you say about the legal side of things. I know that when this actually became public, I'm sure from in my room, I could hear Brent Shredders working overtime out there. But luckily, little did they know, we had a senior retired barrister who knew how to source and find a lot of the evidence that we needed in archive, in the British Library, all over the place. And we have a lot of documents to support our case, let alone it being a legal one, like you said. It's also not emotional. What is the word I'm looking for? Basically, a conscience thing. Any judge with a conscience can see and knows, with the evidence that we will be presenting, that we are the winners on this case. And that's why we're putting it out to the universe that we know we will win. And we just need to plan as a people what we're going to do then thereafter when we have our own building maintained, run for us, by us.
No doubt, no doubt. Most definitely. Well, you heard it there, people. You know what to do. Again, all of these things are nice, but without the community support, they won't stand up. Yeah, the empathy, the conscience won't be sparked if they don't see the community support for this case. Understand that. That has to be there. So everybody, you've heard the dates, rewind the tape, go back to the past video, watch them, get acquainted with it. If you didn't hear about it already, share, go on your social media, type something about it, or just type save Stonebridge Complex. As simple as that. Yeah, so people can visibly see there's a support overwhelmingly in the Black community for one of our historical spots. Yeah, this has been a good show. It's been a good build. I think we've covered all the bases. Support Black media, support your Black YouTube channels. Yeah, because this is the new Black media. And again, it's a good way of getting your message out and communicating with people from all different districts, countries, and perspectives. So this is Black Eyes TV signing out once again.
And Mr. Riggs telling you, get yourself out there once again. Let's let this go viral.